Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the world. Welcome to Rolo Run the City podcast with JT. I'm your co-host JT. Along on the other end, my brother from another mother, Rolo runs the city, and yes, he literally runs the city. How you doing over there?
Doing well, sir. Another great day, and it's time to do what we do best.
I totally agree, sir. Glad to have you here with us. Okay, so today's episode is going to be number 11, and the topic is going to be loyalty. Is it definitely a very important topic, as I know there's the things that I could prove myself on. I think everybody can prove themselves on in these departments. So I figured this would be a good one to talk about. So without further ado, we're going to get this show started, and I'm going to ask you, Mr. Rolo himself. So with the word loyalty, what do you think loyalty is, and why do you feel like it's important?
Well, to me, my definition of loyalty, of course, it ties into selflessness. It's also tied into, of course, we like to talk about the things that we've talked about in past shows, but you already know accountability is one of the biggest things that we come across on any of our subjects. So, loyalty, you have to really be accountable for your own actions in reference to how you engage others or a situation. You know what I'm saying? So people wonder why it's so hard to be loyal when in reality it's not hard to be loyal at all. It's like it brings you back to the golden rule. Do to others as you want done to yourself. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I always talk about how important it is to be loyal because I've never been the type of person of what have you done for me lately. To me, history really means a lot to me, and that can even go in both ways, positive or negative. So when somebody has been absolutely loyal to you, whether it be a good friend that's always there, whether, to celebrate with you during the good times or, even there to, console you in some way, man, and just, a shoulder to cry on. Because, I mean, let's just be honest, we're all human beings. And crying is not just a female trait, okay? We all encounter things that tend to be very difficult in life. And some people deal with it in their own way, and there's nothing better than to have a loyal friend that's there for you through the good times and bad. So loyalty is very important to me, and the reason why I say that is because the old saying, this is just, it's not personal, it's just business. To me, business is very personal because when you tie personal feeling into the business, then you're going to go ahead and put forth your max effort, as opposed to just business being business. Then you don't have a personal relationship with or tied into the business. So therefore, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, you know what? I can give you 60%, and it's okay. It's enough to get by and just enough not to lose business. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very firm in how I feel about these situations of loyalty. Um, for me, business is always personal. I like to know everyone that I'm engaged with on a personal level, so then that way you could get, you know, so I could put out forth my max effort, you know, and all that has to tie in with loyalty because it's a sense of being loyal to yourself. A lot of people aren't even loyal to themselves. It's funny because I was watching a docu series not so long ago about basically like on the eve of the American Revolution and things of that nature. I just for me, I'm a big history buff. I love history, so I'll never forget where there was a situation. I know you heard of Benedict Arnold. He's like, if anybody's like considered a traitor or someone who was, downright treasonous toward their country or whatnot, Benedict Arnold's the poster boy for that. And it was crazy because he went ahead and I remember he carried out a mission. I was watching on the docu series, and he he carried out a mission, and he was trying to get back paid for like 4 years of not being paid. Now, mind you, he was a general in the Continental Army, and obviously, that back pay even back then is a hefty amount. And I recall one of the guys telling him, "Hey, we're not going to be able to go ahead and back pay you 4 years of service. Uh, understand what we're going through. They were going through a situation where the British were trying to counterfeit money, and they had to pretty much wipe out their own currency so the British couldn't go ahead and falsify their money. And it was crazy because it put them in a situation where everybody was in a dire need of, you know, of currency. And I recall the guy telling Benedict Arnold, we're not going to be able to do that. However, the loyalty that you are, the loyalty and respect that you're going to receive from your men far outweighs any dollar amount that you'll ever receive from anyone. And obviously, like I said, he committed treason. He was a traitor. And man, he didn't give a shit about respect. He didn't care about loyalty. He was all about that coin. You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, "No, I need my money," and it was funny. But it's just a perfect example of how some people are built. So for some folks, there's the old saying of everybody's got a price, and I don't believe that to be true. And I believe some of the most loyal people, whether if you're loyal to somebody that's, you know, it could be a good or bad situation, you know? So it could be, the loyalty that soldiers displayed, the Nazi German soldiers displayed to a Hitler. You and I, we see that as being wrong in reference to their their agenda on what they were trying to accomplish with genocide and totally wiping out pretty much the human race that wasn't like them. You know what I'm saying? Well, you and I can see that that's like wrong, obviously, and the whole world can see that that's wrong. Obviously, there was a war after that. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
for me, the reason why I say that loyalty is significant because they believed in the agenda, and whether the situation was right or wrong, they had a loyalty toward that agenda, and they had a loyalty toward Adolf Hitler. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I may not like you, and I may not like your agenda, and I may not like the acts that you're trying to display on world domination, but I can respect your loyalty toward your cause. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't make it right, but I see where your head is at. So that's basically my definition about it. What about you, bud?
Yeah. I mean, I look at it too, it's like I said, even if it's a positive or a negative situation, it's just the fact of, I guess, you're getting people to believe in what you're doing. And the thing is, like, in order to feel like, some people feel like they have to have like someone to really look up to, which I mean, which is not wrong with that. But in the same instance, what some people probably don't realize is like, do you know the person you look up to? Don't be like, okay, well, because he powerful, he has a swagger by himself. Okay, I'm gonna ride with this person. Like I said, that person could be doing it for the wrong or for the worst, but you know, you could, like I say, you could still have that loyalty to that person, but I mean, you still have to need to observe and check out who you're actually following with, because this is your legacy, which is on the line, and not the person you're following. Their legacy is to have you to have you follow them, but you know don't tie your legacy to someone else's legacy. Make sure, if that's the decision you want, just know that you putting your legacy in the hands of another individual, whether it's right or wrong. Now, apparently, on that note too, there are times where you have people who just feel like they need somebody to lean on, just like you say, like the cry and stuff like that. Now, you have to have that because you don't want to feel like, hey, people want to be strong. People want to be strong. They don't never want to feel weak, you know. And it's not right. It's not wrong to cry. It's not wrong to feel weak. And that's why I like. I know there's not a lot of people out there to uh, rely on, but those one or maybe two individuals, you don't need a lot. You just need somebody. Once you run into these types of situations where you know when you're ready to move forward with something, you need that shoulder to lean on. And I think that itself is loyalty because even if you know that person or not, you're taking your time to help that person, um, whatever their struggles are, and you're doing what it takes to make sure that person feels comfortable in what they're achieving. So I think that's real major.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, man. Vulnerability is power, man. To be quite honest with you, people look at that as a weakness, and it absolutely isn't. The ones that are weak are the ones that try to hide and make it seem like everything is 100% okay, no problems here. Nah, man. Vulnerability is power. I mean, you go through a situation, you know, where it's just somebody would question to even put it out. It's like, nah, man. Sometimes, well, not even sometimes, man. All the time, it's just absolutely, you know, great to be authentic, man. I mean, authenticity is the best way to go 100% of the time. So yeah, definitely, man. Love that.
Oh yeah, definitely facts. Like you say, authenticity is the way to go for sure. All right. Well, from here, man, I'm gonna go ahead and slide on to the next question. Um, so my question to you, Rolly, is what are some good or bad examples of loyalty have you witnessed or have been involved
All right, check this out. So, like we talked about the situation with that I used about Nazi Germany. Obviously, bad representation of what loyalty should be, right?
in?
But you know, but I want to take this a little deeper, even with current times, right? Um, I don't really like to touch on stuff like this. Obviously, we're firm. We're very firm in our beliefs and how we feel. And obviously, we served under Uncle Sam, so you know how it is, man. We don't see black, we don't see white. We're all wearing green. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely would like to touch on this just a little bit. Um, the Black Lives Matter movement is something that's very, it's a great cause, and yet people consider it to be controversial. I don't consider it too much to be controversial. And I think when people are being very loyal by stating cases that are going on, that, that injustices are occurring in the black community, or, just the community other than white, obviously, we're all people of color, you know, it should be brought to light, right? And I feel like that loyalty is great when it comes to serving those causes. But at what point do we start kind of looking at what we're doing and we're saying, wait a minute, like our loyalty is being tested? All right. Now, you and I, like I said, offline, we had a conversation about the whole situation with Rashard Brooks, right? And obviously, it's a touchy subject, and we don't know all the facts. However, we do know what we've seen, right? Um, I think the issue that we're running into in America right now is that we're trying to lump all situations alike, and that evidently in this case is not the case. So, what happened with George Floyd in Minnesota was obviously wrong. It was inhumane. Black, white, whatever, man, whatever the color is, it don't even matter. Like, when you have somebody who's defenseless, and they're defenseless, and you commit murder, and people are around your subordinates, and they allow that shit to happen, it's wrong as hell. Obviously, we know that. different situation. Obviously, very cooperative and still lost his life. Black Lives Matter movement, obviously, you know, there's a cause for concern, and we need to march forward and make sure that justice is served on that aspect, right? Now, I think this is where the loyalty gets kind of tied up, where it becomes a little. It's not saying that it's wrong or the situation is wrong, but not all situations are alike. Now, the situation with this kid Rashard Brooks, obviously, us living here in Georgia, we get a little bit more in depth coverage than people nationwide. But situation that goes on with that, it's like do you still want your loyalty to seem authentic, right? But all the evidence is in front of you. You know, looked at a 43-minute, body camera, um, basically an interview that they were having with this man. Unfortunately, he seemed to be DUI, fell asleep at a Wendy's drive-through, was blocking traffic, things of that nature, right? Not to mention the kid got a record and all this other stuff, right? And we're not exonerating the cops either. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, people, they have their mishaps and they have their files as well. You know how that is. Like, oh, this cop got in trouble for so and so, was reprimanded for this, this, and that. You know what I'm saying? So it happens. On both ends. Nobody walking on this earth is perfect. But I think the loyalty can get misconstrued in this situation because, like I said, we can't lump everything together. So we obviously, just like you saw, like I saw, like I said, there was a 43-minute tape. Everything seemed to be peaceful and calm. How did it escalate to where it did? You know, looked like dude was cooperating, looked like dude was gonna get the handcuffs on, then he tried to make a run for it. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, if you're a perpetrator at that point and you're gonna get in trouble, cops are gonna come after you if you're trying to run when you're supposed to be detained. And my man beat the shit out of both of the cops. Let's just be quite honest with it, right? Beat the hell out of both of them. Whether he was inebriated or was scared or what was going on, it's just an ugly situation. But it turns out beat the hell out of him, grabbed the taser from one of the cops, actually shot the taser at one of the cops, and believe it or not, that dude at that point had gotten two felony counts of resisting arrest. You know what I'm saying? And people aren't looking at that. And it's a very sketchy and it's a very scary situation to dive into because people think you're being biased, but it's not so much about being biased. It's about looking at things for what they are. So unfortunately, this gentleman lost his life. The whole thing could have just been avoided. You know what I'm saying? At the same token, order has to be maintained because if not, then we would live in anarchy. We will be no different than how they live, in many of the countries in the Middle East. Obviously we know Afghanistan, Iraq, things like that, Iran. You have to have law and order. You know what I'm saying? What separates us between us and the animals is the fact that we have rules and regulations. So, unfortunately, like I said, this gentleman lost his life, and a cop can possibly end up doing life in prison for doing his job. You know what I'm saying? And at what point do we not look at the situation and say, even if it was a black cop, he still wasn't going to be cooperative because he didn't want to get locked up. And then you can see evidently on the film that the cops were trying to be cordial to him because of everything that was going on, that they didn't want to be a part of no shit like this that was actually happening. So it's very disheartening, man, and it sucks on both ends. But obviously, when something happens, somebody got to get the hammer dropped on them in some way, somehow. And like I said, for me, I'm not stating that I know all the facts, but I know what I've seen. And when things like this happen, it kind of questions you on your position. Now, we are for the Black Lives Matters, but at the same token, it's like, we can't lump this situation that happened with Rashard Brooks, and lump it together what happened with George Floyd, because what happened with George Floyd was wrong. And obviously we know that, and we behind that shit 150,000%, if that makes any sense to anybody. But like I said, loyalty not so much comes into question because you're going to be loyal to the cause. However, how does the cause interpret you and say, oh, well, you're not going to be loyal to this situation too? It's like, I can't throw, like for me, for instance, right? Somebody's like, oh man, you threw me under the bus, man. What's up with that? Shit, I can't throw you under the bus if you jumped under there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got yourself in that shit. Like, that whole thing could have been avoided. So that's where I feel like where loyalty can be good and then loyalty can be bad and be questioned. And that's where I stand on that. And I know I kind of went a little further than what I should have, but I mean that's a great question, and I had to answer it as authentically as I could. JT, what's your take?
Okay, yeah, I heard that, man. I'm gonna go more on the, right on this segment right here. I'm gonna go more on the personal side before I go and jump on something I witnessed. Okay,
Okay.
so you know, for myself, like especially like when you grow up, you come up with certain people, and when you kids, the people you grew up with, you're pretty much cool with them. All right, now say you happen to move somewhere else, just because maybe not your reason, might be for your parents, it might be for you, whatever the case may be. For me, it was more like, okay, I joined the military. So when I joined the military, it was time for me to move on. I had to leave people that I do know and to meet people that I don't know. And you know I would say prior to meeting you, I was already in for a couple of years. And so I've did things for people, and because I was thinking like, hey, if we're all in the same uniform, we one fight, we one team, and there are certain instances where you know I looked out for people, and I didn't get that love back. Like, if I, for example, if I sold somebody something, they might have paid me like 75%, but they ain't paid me the full bill,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're just renege on the whole deal, whatever, you know. And running situations like that is like, it makes you, even though you're a type person who want to be cool and caring to everyone, but once you get bit, what I'm saying, when you bite the bullet a few times for some a few bad apples, then you kind of change your character a little bit because you don't want to go through that again. And now, to me personally, I feel like no matter how sour you may get, or how defensive, or you know uh, shell that you become of yourself because of bad instances that happened in the past. You know, I feel like you can't. It's too much going on in the world to move on your own, and so that's why I feel like, hey, at one point, some people feel like, hey, in order to enjoy life, they have to have a lot of friends. They got to know a lot of people, whatever the case may be. But what I found out about that is the more people the more people who, like, they might just like know you they might be even using you, or what I mean, for one point, or uh they might be riding your wave for a little bit until someone else comes through and shine whatever, and then they up and leave. But you can't really judge a book by its cover and say, okay, I know he's a good dude. He's a good dude. Oh, this is a good girl. This is a good girl. Whatever. It's one of the things where you know your heart and soul will have to just lead you to whatever you feel about a certain individual. You're gonna know more over time with that person. But once you go through these instances, it helps you become like, hey, if you run into somebody who was like this way, or you run into somebody that was that way, you been through that before. If a person was cutthroat, they're going to show the signs of what you saw in the person that was cutthroat to you in the past. If somebody was really good to you and they're a real friend, you know or they really look out for you, you gonna know because you're gonna have the characteristics of a good friend because you have a friend or two or three or maybe even a few that does the same thing that that particular person does. All right. So that's on my side on a personal level. Now I'm gonna go to more of a passionate side of myself. Like as far as hip hop, like it's one of my favorite music genres out there, and I mean you know that.
Yes, sir.
So so I know that the game has changed. Like the people when I grew up and I looked up to, I thought those people were the ones who was gonna set the bar for the rest of the music world, and I thought today it will be the same music I liked 20, 30 years ago. But when I really found out how much the industry have changed, and then the reason why it changed because the things that was going on in the industry was just more under wraps and hidden then. But then as time goes by, pages start to unravel from the book, and you see how what people really had to do to get to where they are. And it hurts because I look at it like this: you have people who say they was really, really from hard struggles, this, that, and the third, but you're telling me that or because you wanted the money, the riches, and everything else so bad to the point where you really had to sell your soul to get that. Now you're loyal to the people you work for now, but you're not loyal to the people in the industry I mean the people you grew up with, people who knew you from the struggle from the bottom. And then a lot of those people, once they get all the rags, the fames, the riches that they got, they don't even spread the wealth to their people. And so I kind of dislike, and the reason I brought this topic up because I will never lose hip hop as love, and I like all types of music, and even all other music, other actors, stuff like that as well. You know, it's like I like what is being done. I just don't like what you have to do to get done. And I feel like, it should be more than you having to be something you're not to try to get where you want to be. And it's like what you said about authenticity, it just really, really irrelevant in the industry. Because if they had the choice, they wouldn't did half of the stuff they had to do to get where they are. But it just goes to show, like, what measures would you take to get to where you are. So that's all I want to speak about that part too, man. Because I can say over these last few years, I just found out a lot of stuff, man, and it's really like really opened my eyes and realized, like, man, like I gotta see life in a different light now. All right, so you got anything to add to the question?
No, you actually you hit the nail on the head on that one, man. I totally agree with you, and I totally understand that. You figure that the folks that laid the groundwork that they will continue to have paved the way they were supposed to. Uh, you wouldn't see a whole bunch of tomfoolery that's going on right now in reference to the music by itself, the actual art, the business of music. My wife and I we talked about that the other day too, about that you meet so many cool and great people that do music, but the bad thing that that guys don't really get as far as they want to get to because of the fact that there's too many snakes, especially in that industry. So it's very hard to see any loyalty, especially in hip hop music. We talked about this, man. We talk about this time again. George Strait's been making damn country music for over 40 years, and he has so many loyal listeners and so many loyal fans. And then you got guys that if they can at least make it 10, 15 years in the hip hop industry, then they're doing something, or at least 5. Say, man, they had a good run because the loyalty in the hip hop community does not, it just doesn't exist because it's always like, Oh, what have you done for me lately? Oh, new flavor of the week. All this other stuff is like, damn, but what happened to so and so? He was nice. Nah, screw him because I like this dude now. And I'm like, damn. So it goes to show you they're not really into the person and for the art. They're just more of like, oh, this is the new hot thing right now. And I think that's something that we need to get away from. So I totally feel you on that, man. I agree with
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I just try to feel like, hey, look, do it do it for the love and the passion, man, and not for what the evil promotes, which is the money and fame and all that, because all that's going to get you into is a world of trouble in the end. It just make you look good for the forefront. And what would you rather have now? Just a hyped prime career, or would you want to have an overall prosperous life?
you. Yeah, absolutely. No, couldn't agree with you more on that one.
Okay, man. So without further ado, we're gonna get to the last question here, and I will ask you this: who do you consider to be a great example of being a good loyal person or people?
I'll put it to you like this, man. I'll get personal on here real quick. The most loyal person I ever met in my life, she sleeps next to me, and that's my wife, man. I'll be quite honest with you. The way she approaches life and the way she does things, man, is not only is it honorable, but it's like, damn, how the hell do you do what you do? And you just do it with ease. I could talk about just putting up with me for so many years, man. You know, we've been together for 17 plus years, man, and counting. And you know, I've given her a lot of headaches, and there'd been times that if she would have been any other chick, she would have left. And she didn't, man. You know, she stuck it through. Very loyal to me. There's times that there's a lot of times that I've, you know, gotten my feelings in the damn way and wanting to hurt hers because my ego felt bruised in some way. And it's just it's not a good look and it's not healthy. And my wife is one of not only the most loyal person that I know, but she's like the most strongest individual I ever met in my life. So whenever I get up and I try to execute at a high level, I hold her in high regard to a point where it's like if I can be a tenth of what my wife is, I know that I'll be a good damn person. So that's my perfect example of loyalty. What about you, bud?
But I'm gonna stick with what you said. I'm gonna go with the lady that lays next to me as well. And the reason I say that because like I'm not the easiest person to deal with. Um, I come from uh, a a part of life where I didn't really have you know everything I needed or wanted, but I mean I did have enough of support around me. But there's a lot of stuff that I need to learn in life and still need to learn in life. And as they say, if you're not learning, then really you don't have a reason to live because because you don't know everything. So which means is if you're living another day, that means there's an opportunity to learn something different. And the thing is with me, because I was never really a romantic person, nothing like that. So um therefore like I don't know how to, you know, like love a woman how some people would do. I just know the way I do things, and I know it's different from other people. But you know, I try to I try to do things the best way I can on the way I know how. And so even though we're different people, mostly, but you know, I guess when you have a love for someone, it's like you you know what I mean. You try to look past all the other awkward stuff or different stuff that you'd be like, well, I don't know. That's something I would never really imagine a person would ever. But sometimes when you deal with somebody for a particular time, it's like you uh, you become like attached to the person in a sense. So like no matter what the imperfectness or the differences are um, it's to me it's like it's going to be enough likes to keep that person together. And so that I mean to me, and that's being loyal because like if somebody just if you have so many differences or imperfections or mistakes, whatever, just like you said, like man, people will leave in a heartbeat. So if somebody is putting up with your stuff on a regular basis and for an X amount of time, you have to give that credit where the credit is due. So, without further more to say, yeah, you gotta give the shout out to the lady that lives sleeps next to me, stuff like that. And another example I want to use too is like just for example, like the Locks, like the rap group, hip hop group, the Locks. And
Yeah.
the reason I say that is because uh you have family is usually the easiest people to be loyal to because you know them for a while, they're your blood, and they usually stick together. But now, in all cases, of course, you're going to have family too that is not they are your family by blood, but they're not really your family by association. And so the reason why I give the Locks good credit because they're a rap group who are they've been in the music business for at least about 20-25 years, and you know and I would say like, and it's more than them too, but it's not. It's very, 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 and it's very few people who stick together. Like sometimes you're gonna have a creative mind frame. You'll go and do your own thing for a little bit. Like, hey, I got my own creativity and my own project I want to do. But at the end of the day, you're gonna realize that your other guys that you form with, that's still your brothers. You know, and being when you guys are brothers like that or you like sisters, whatever the case may be, um you know you're gonna find a way to support each other, to mess with each other. So it's almost like even if you do something on your own, you're gonna feel like they're there with you because they got your back. They're with you 100% of the way. And then eventually once you do your thing, eventually y'all gonna miss each other and say, look, all right, we need to go ahead and do our group thing because we miss being together, you know. And I know being together, especially when it comes to doing like even group things, music, work, whatever, you got to split and divide the money. But then it goes to show that money is not everything. Because if you're looking for a golden ticket and you want all the riches in one setting, you're not gonna be able to work with nobody you're not because the pie that has to be split is not gonna be enough for you. So the way I look at it is, do things to the happiness, and you're gonna get a suffice amount of what you need. If you feel like you want more, you need more, that's your opportunity to go back again and go harder and do it again. You know, and nobody says you got to be at your goal overnight. Nobody says you have to be there at the time that you want it to be. But as long as you're striving to get there, everything else will take care of itself, and God will oversee all of that. So, you got any thing to add to that question?
Nah, sir, you got it about wrapped up right there.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I'd like to thank all you for coming out or tuning in to us and listening to what we got to say. We just try to come up with things as possible. Um, like I say, look out for us. The next show coming soon. Um, also, if you like what you heard, like, comment, and subscribe. And from here, I'm gonna have my homeboy Rolo C over there going to take it out for us.
All right, people, you already know, man. We greatly do appreciate your listenership, your viewership. We do appreciate it all. Feel free to get social with us. You can hit me up at Rolo Runs the City on Instagram and also on Twitter. You could also hit my man up, JT, on Instagram at So Amazing 247. We greatly do appreciate your listenership. And we hope that you guys are taking what we're telling you guys and just do what you can with it. Feel free to get social with us, whether you guys got any comments, show suggestions, or you just want to tell us how bad we're doing. Feel free to do so. All comments are welcome.
All right. Well, and we always say freedom isn't free until we live in free. All right, peeps, we out.